Hello, I'm Jeremy Gray, and this is the Tom Crean Show. On today's show, we'll sit down with Coach and talk about the game of Verdell Jones, Indiana's big win this past weekend against the Iowa Hawkeyes. We'll learn about the Mop Lady and the William Tell timeout today on the Tom Crean Show. Welcome to the Tom Crean Show. Coach, first of all, congratulations on the nice win against Iowa at home. The crowd in that game, speak to that.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it was just electric. And that I know I sometimes overuse these words, but I mean them every time. I mean, the electricity of our crowd, the enthusiasm, the passion were tremendous. We had some great costumes. I hope we get some shots of that. A lot of costumes in the crowd on this past Sunday. But the crowd was full of energy, and our team was full of energy.
And the team really got it done on the offensive end, moving the ball around exceptionally well.
Well, we did, and we got out and played. We got some baskets off turnovers, off some defensive rebounds. We got the ball up the court. We moved it. I mean, we dropped on penetration inside. We moved on penetration on the perimeter. It was not a dribble game. You know, it was much more of a driving game, driving kick game, driving drop-off game, and our guys really did a great job of creating help situations and then making the right play.
Deservedly a lot of attention for Cody Zeller and his 26 points and 8 dunks, but some post players that came off the bench provided a lot of energy and some points as well. Derek Elston knocking down shots without that mask, and Tom Pritchard, some big baskets, big plays, and the crowd really supported him.
Well, that's just shows you how great our crowd is. I mean, they love these guys, and they know Tom Pritchard's done a lot over a period of time, and they know Cody's come in, and Cody deserves to play a lot, and Tom Pritchard does an outstanding job of making us better. And when he gets rewarded in a game by being aggressive, by having an aggressive mindset to score the basketball, that's impressive stuff. And that's exactly what we need. And Derek, it was great to see him shoot. He's one of our better shooters. Sometimes he needs to be reminded of that. And when he just catches and shoots, and when he's driving to the basket in a straight line, or when he's in a post-up, he does really good things for us. And Cody just continues to move without the basketball, find open teammates. He'll post, he'll read the penetration, he'll drop, he'll get behind the defense. He's a very, very active guy.
Very sound game by Verdell Jones as well.
I thought he set the table. I know I said that in the press conference, but he really did. He moved the basketball at a very good rate. His head was up. He was attacking. The thing with Verdell always comes down to burst. And when he's in a burst, when he's really dropping his shoulder, driving the ball, pushing it out, a lot of good things happen. And that's exactly how he needs to play.
One of the great traditions that you've brought back since you've been the head coach here, the Mop Lady. When did you first hear of the Mop Lady in that iconic spot that played so many years ago?
We heard about that probably, I'd say somewhere in the midst of that first year, and maybe it's somewhere in that summertime area, but I'm for anything that our fans love in the sense of tradition. Let's build on the great traditions that we've had. Let's build some new ones, which we've done. But really, I can't take credit for that. That becomes an administrative athletic department decision where there's a lot of technical things that go into that. I just know that the fans love it, and I think it's great.
All right, let's learn more about the Mop Lady on our segment called This Is Indiana.
Ask any Indiana fan about some of the traditions surrounding IU basketball, and you'll probably get a long list. One of the most notable traditions of the program is something that doesn't even have to do with the game itself, but a precursor to the action about to take place. In 1971, Farm Bureau Insurance and a lady named Martha would make history with their iconic ad that played on WTTV Channel 4 before every Hoosier game.
It was the symbol of the whole thing. It was just this old lady that seemed very lonely, and then all of a sudden the place came to life, and it was like it is now, crazy.
I think it actually kind of gives fans goosebumps and makes them feel a certain connection to the program.
When Coach Bob Knight was fired from Indiana, Farm Bureau pulled their ad, and Martha was lost in the hallways of Assembly Hall for about 10 years. Knowing just how important tradition is to Indiana fans, Coach Tom Crean brought Martha out from the basement of Assembly Hall during Hoosier Hysteria in 2009, giving her back to the fans that love her so much. While Martha herself was unable to perform, Crean found a keen replacement for her in Bloomington icon Sheila Stevens.
The night I stepped onto the court at Assembly Hall and portrayed Martha the Mop Lady, I've got goosebumps right now. It was one of the most incredible moments of my career as a performer, because there is nothing like the Hoosier fan base. And all of those people there, most of them, even the new kids, I think knew who Martha the Mop Lady was.
I think Sheila was as touched when the basketball program said, would you play this maid Mop Lady character for an Indiana basketball event? And she still talks about it to this day, of just the cold chills of excitement that she got to be carrying on this great tradition.
Through the years, Crean has helped the old Hoosier faithful connect with the newer fans, both groups who pride themselves on the amount of tradition their beloved basketball program has. It's this concept of bridging the gap between all generations of IU fans that makes the Indiana head coach so appreciated by the Hoosier Nation.
It reaches back to a time that was really great with what was happening for Indiana basketball, and who's to say that it can't be enjoyed again? And certainly the reception that Martha the Mop Lady, the video, receives at every Indiana men's game when it's played before the team runs back out on the court for the last time is just very, very gratifying.
For years, Martha the Mop Lady swept the hallways of Assembly Hall and brought together a fan base in more ways than any mascot could ever imagine. Hoosier Nation continues to pay tribute to one of the staple symbols of IU basketball, as every IU fan has a little bit of Martha's spirit inside of them. For the Tom Crean Show, I'm Courtney Cronin.
We'll have more with Coach Crean when we return on the Tom Crean Show. Welcome back to the Tom Crean Show. Coach, big week obviously for your team, a couple of road games against some teams that are playing very good basketball.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It seems like we're spending a lot of time on the road, but at least we'll get to have some home games at the end. Michigan's playing excellent. They're one of the hotter teams certainly around because they continue to improve. Trey Burke just continues to make play after play. Tim Hardaway Jr. Is one of the better wings in America. And again, they get a lot of credit and they deserve it. Zach Novak and Stu Douglas do a lot of really good things. The guy that might be a huge, huge key for them, though, is Jordan Morgan. When he plays well, they play well. And we're going to have a fire on all cylinders mentality going up to Ann Arbor. And
then, of course, West Lafayette, tough place to play. Purdue, Indiana, always a special atmosphere.
I mean, Indiana, Purdue, you meant.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah. I think they're very good. I mean, they're going to give us different lineups. They're tough at home. They've got a great program. They've had a great program for some time. And they cause a lot of problems. But I know this is a week that our guys have looked forward to for some time. We try to keep them in the moment. I think we've done a good job of that, and here's the week.
Looking at your team as it stands right now, it looks like week in and week out there are new people contributing, and you've mentioned 17 wins in 17 different ways. Mm-hmm. This is a versatile team.
Oh, absolutely, and that's really how we wanted to recruit it. And but at the same time, you've got to be able to develop into that. And I think our players have done an excellent job of working extremely hard. They're very coachable. They absorb things. They want to get better. And when you want to get better, you'll do extra. And if you don't do extra, there's really not a place for you because the game moves too fast. You've got to have guys that are really, really locked into not only building on the skills that they have, but eliminating weaknesses from their game. And again, sometimes it gets personal where you've got to look at it. It's never a negative in that sense. It's personal in the sense, we want you to be this good. How do we get there? And you get there with extra work. You get there with different roles in practice. You get there with stepping up in games. You get there with film work. And again, that builds versatility. And versatility is like depth. I mean, if you can only do one or two things, well, you're going to get limited at some point. If you can build on those things, do those 1, 2, 3 things really, really well, and then find some other things that you can do that you can contribute to the team, well, now you've got a chance to really be on the floor. And our guys are learning that, I believe.
Coming up next, your daughter's going to interview Steve McLean on the hot seat. What does he mean to your program?
Oh, a ton. I think one of the great things about where we're at 4 years in is we've had some pretty good staff continuity. And Steve has been the one change, and he has definitely made us better. It's like having another head coach. And I can say that about our other guys, too. Steve brings a lot to the table.
All right, let's learn more about Steve McLean on the hot seat.
Today on the hot seat, we're talking to Coach Steve McLean. To the hot seat, what does it mean to you to coach a team that has so much tradition like Indiana?
Well, I think whenever you can be involved in a program that you walk in and there's national championship banners hanging up there, you know you're a part of a great tradition and a great history.
Who is the most competitive person in your family?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. My wife. You know, Kim is the one that, whether it's at the games and you sit by her, there's no question. We play games at home. She's going to try to win. Dylan and me are in trouble.
What is on your iPod, or what is your favorite kind of music?
I don't have an iPod. You know, I guess I'm not up with that. But you know, country. I like country music, and that's what you'll find on my radio most of the time.
Do you have a pregame routine that you always stick to?
Pretty much, you know, and I am a superstitious person. I'd worn the same suit all the way up to the Minnesota game. Had never changed it, same tie. You know, I like to eat the same things. On home games, we get done with shoot around, we eat, and Calbert and myself hang around downstairs and watch ESPN and talk. So yeah, I kind of have a routine I like to stay with.
What made you want to become a coach?
Well, I give the credit probably to my high school coach, because he got me involved. I was in a small town, and most kids were going to stay home and farm and do what they did, and he got me interested in helping young kids at a young age, and that's kind of what triggered me to want to coach.
We got to take a timeout, but when we return, Coach will break down the game of Verdell Jones III on the Tom Crean Show. Welcome back, Coach. Verdell Jones, he's been here from day one. What has he meant to this team?
Well, I think he epitomizes the improvement of it. He just continues to get better. He understands that there's a lot of things that he can contribute when he's locked in on both ends of the court. His improvement is immense, and he's playing with his head up. He's playing like a senior. And I'm really, really proud of the way that he's playing. And I don't think there's any doubt that it's been that way from the beginning of the year. Every player goes through peaks and valleys of a season, ups and downs, whatever you want to call it. But he has been so consistent with his edge, with his willingness to improve, with the defensive intent. Those are the kind of things that he needed to get better, and he has. And anytime anybody looks at his numbers and says, well, he's not doing this or he's not doing that, then I start to look at what he has done in making us better, especially on the defensive end. Those are where it really shows up. And he's got a lot to do with why we've been winning a lot of games.
He's in the hallowed 1,000-point club in Indiana, and a lot of them have come on mid-range jump shots. He's been remarkable in that way over the course of his career.
Well, he has, but he can mix it up. And you know, for us going forward, he's got to be even better at the foul line, especially when we go on the road. He can be even better at the basket and with finishing. But when he's playing with his head up and he's finding the open man, and when the pull-up is there, that's a very, very good thing.
In the offseason, he talked about looking at his own defense over the course of his career and wanting to improve, and he has improved this year.
He has. But I think, again, all that was left here is to win. He had the 1,000 points. He'd been a starter. He'd been at Indiana. He knew what it was like to play at Indiana. He'd been through the Big Ten, but he hadn't won here yet. And none of us had yet. And I think that was one of the driving forces as well.
All right, let's take a look at what's going on around campus.
President Michael McRobbie, welcome back to Just You and Me.
Delighted to be back, David.
This is your third time on the program. I know you came on a couple years ago with Joe Bourne and did a jazz program, and then we had you back about a year later to do a rock and roll show.
That's right.
And,
this is not the first time President Michael McRobbie has co-hosted a radio show on WFIU, a station owned by IU and heard throughout nearly half the state of Indiana. During the past 2 years, he's talked jazz with listeners, has spun his favorite rock music from the 60s and 70s, and says he'd like to take a shot at classical music as well. But on this day, it was all about jazz.
Went with David, you know, to I believe he was at Lenox as well, and they all went out and played at the Fire Spot in New York City.
That was a great group there.
Oh gosh, yeah, excellent.
She's playing the flute of this, and the track pretty much opens with a great solo by her. And it also has the late Harvey Phillips, the tuba virtuoso in the Jacobs School. If you look at the cover notes, Maria Schneider helped with the arrangements, and in particular of the pieces from Miles Ahead, which includes Luis Pablo, and so.
Stockhausen that he was really into.
That's
for
right.
Avant-garde.
Stockhausen, Rachmaninoff.
Yeah.
Ravel.
Yeah.
It's a genuine pleasure to always hear what you bring along, and you're a very, very savvy jazz fan. And I do not say that simply because you're the president of IU. You truly are.
A complete amateur.
Well, I am impressed.
Many university presidents retire when they leave office. It's possible this administrator has a future waiting for him on the airwaves.
When we come back, we'll learn about the most famous timeout in college basketball on The Tom Crean Show. Welcome back to The Tom Crean Show. Let's learn about the most famous timeout in college basketball with the cheerleaders on our Behind the Scenes segment.
Few realize the hard work it takes to be an Indiana cheerleader. Not only do they have regular practices and attend games here in Assembly Hall, but they also put in extra time to earn their own titles off the court.
For 2012, yes, they are the national champions, which is fantastic. And last year we were the national runner-up. So I would say the last 4 or 5 years we've been in the top 4, so we like to think we've been in the Final Four.
Because last year we were runners-up, and so it was kind of a big deal to go out there and make sure that everyone knew that we were here to win and like we are the best. And so we were really excited just to be able to go out there like with Indiana on our chest and come out there with pride.
Indiana has its latest national champions, the all-girl cheerleading squad. Additionally, the co-ed squad received 4th place in their recent competition.
Once we got down there and we hit that routine the second time in the finals, and then they said, 4th place, and words can't even describe how exciting that was for us.
I was really impressed with our whole team, how no one gave up. Everyone tried so hard, and I mean, it paid off. We did what I would say a flawless routine.
Constant work also enables the cheerleaders to embrace the traditions of Indiana, including the famed William Tell timeout.
We like to think that William Tell is the greatest basketball timeout across country.
Starting in the mid-70s with one flag, the 8-minute timeout has changed and developed over the years, even owing some of its added flags to a rivalry with Kentucky.
As it kind of became this fun flag war between the universities. So like we would bring out a flag and they would bring out another one, and then we'd bring out one, they'd bring out. Then it became a cheerleading, flag war between 2 of the greatest cheer programs out there.
The rival sparked what is now an absolute fan favorite timeout and creates the extreme energy level that Assembly Hall is known for.
Without William Tell, I don't think a basketball game would be the same.
It's just really exciting that everyone gets so into it and just loves that we do it.
I mean, it looks chaotic, but it's
really smooth.
It's planned chaos.
William Tell is certainly one more tradition that symbolizes what it means to be a part of such a great program. I'm Margot Andrews for The Tom Crean Show, and this is Indiana.
When we return, we'll wrap up this week's show with our Ask Coach Crean segment. Welcome back for our final segment. It's called the Ask Coach Crean segment. We take this question from Kyle from Muncie. Coach, the team emphasized more driving to the basket and finding the open man against Iowa. Were those things that you stressed in practice heading into that game?
Well, we do, but we stress it all the time, Kyle. I mean, it's not like it just happened one time. I mean, we want to drive the ball to the rim. We want to get in and find open people. And sometimes the defense doesn't allow it to happen as much. But it is a big emphasis. It's something that we want to do, and it's something that we've done throughout the year. Sometimes it's better than others.
The Big Ten, arguably the best conference in college basketball this year. How tough is it to prepare for teams on those short turnarounds?
Well, first off, I don't think there's many people that could throw a legitimate argument against it. And I'd have to say that even if I was in a different league. I mean, just top to bottom. And I think you see it with how many records are very similar in this league because everybody's playing each other. But it's a deep league. It's a league that continues to improve. It's a league that people they get better. I mean, they get better, and the coaching is so good. They just continue to move forward, and I don't think there's any question we should dominate with having teams in the NCAA tournament.
And you look at preparation for different teams in the league. In this last week, you took on Wisconsin, who plays one distinct way, and then Iowa another. It's got to be tough to prepare.
Well, I think it is, but I mean, again, you're seeing teams because they're playing each other, so you're getting a chance to take notes and get a mental feel for those other teams. But the one thing you want to do is you want to keep your team locked into that next game, what they have to do to be better at, what we need to do to win the game, where our emphasis has got to be on winning the game, but where our emphasis has also got to be on our improvement. And sometimes they combine, and that's when it's really good. But other times there's things that you want to make sure you're improving because you know you're going to need them in the long haul in a league like this.
All right, thanks so much for joining us. Tune in next time on The Tom Crean Show.